How could we be so blind? How could we not see the truth? Of course, of course. The strongest there is was never chaos, never any of the gods, not even any of those stupid 7 deadly sins. Even Lancelot himself would fall short to the king of Purgatory. What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here, fun fact, and moving to have it on and keep it on me at all times. So, another fun fact. Here we are to do a breakdown and review. I can't even get a breakdown and review for chapter 230 of Four Knights of the Seven Deadly Sins, known as the Pandora's Box. And Yo, I got it, like, potato chip, I literally, here's the thing, I've been relatively harsh on Four Knights. Harsh in some cases. Some people hear my critiques and are like, well, yeah, valid. Some people are like, you're being a little bit too mean. But one of my critiques is how can't really take the narrative seriously. Really can't take our main antagonist seriously, right? This silly little cat guy right here, who still, I didn't realize this, still has the Arthur cowlick, even built into his like tiny ball form. But this little guy right here, I can't take him seriously. I really can't. Never could, never would, and after this chapter, definitely never will. But it is truly Nakaba hearing that from me directly. I don't know. I feel like he watches every single review. I'm still paying for saying King was either relative to or stronger than Bond. In that video from like 5 years ago now, I'm still paying for it because he's listening. He has bugs in my house. But regardless, he heard that and said, "Okay, okay, I got something for you. I got something for you. You think this is sweet, huh? You think this is sweet, huh?" And oh boy, did I think it was sweet. But let's hop right into chapter 230. The Pandora's Box. And let's throw it wide on open as we see Chaos Crystal. Kath has fully isolated himself inside a crystallized version of all of the chaos energy, the chaos power that he has. Now, real quick little commentary on this. Chaos Crystal is interesting, mainly because it reminds me of the Capital of the Dead. Notably, one thing that I always push, and I try to remind people about, especially before we got, Chaos actually creating the world beyond, which is like an entire universal realm with a different time flow, like, that essentially is what a lot of people were trying to use Purgatory for beforehand. A big thing I consistently either had to remind people, just say, just in case people have forgotten, we don't know who made Purgatory. We just don't have a clue. We don't have a clue. We don't know who made Purgatory. We also don't know who made the Capital of the Dead. With every other realm in this universe being constructed by something, seemingly enough, from the celestial realm to the mortal realm as we know it, to the demon realm, to even the fairy realm being made by a literal tree, it did feel like it was kind of weird to not necessarily get an explanation on who made those places. And I still don't think that Chaos made them, but this crystal definitely, seems to point towards something of that, maybe, kind of, sort of. Because this looks like exactly, especially on the outer rims of the darker crystal, this right here, it just screams Capital of the Dead. Same coloration, same crystal structure and everything. And of course we know chaos transcends life and death. So like, it's kind of weird, it's kind of funky. But even then, last chapter makes that really funky because like, Cass said he couldn't reform himself in time, implying that maybe he could have done, I don't know. It feels like Nakaba's very wishy-washy on this whole transcending life and death thing. But regardless, the Chaos Crystal is here. It kind of looks like the Capital of the Dead stuff, and Kath is sitting directly inside of it. It is very interesting that the Chaos Crystal itself does take on a more, like, I'd say, more current Kath accurate look. But then Kath clearly reverts back to his, majority of Seven Deadly Sins look. So it is kind of iffy, wishy-washy on whether or not I'm supposed to take this one way or take it another. But Kath is in essentially what I believe is a sealed form here inside the Chaos Crystal. But the Chaos Crystal is in fact, protecting him and taking on his likeness anyway. Showing that the chaos power that he has, even if it is all of it just in pure crystal form, as a guard, his perfect guard, as he called the last chapter, it doesn't really matter in a grand scheme because it's still tainted by him. it still shows like his imperfect mastery of it. Hypothetically, if he had full master control over chaos, it wouldn't have these imperfections like Arthur's ear, or Arthur's cowlick on the ear, or even this like sort of jagged and rough looking design. But obviously we see the Sins standing there looking on and being like, what on earth should we do? And King has gone back to increase because he just hates me, bro. Like, why will you not? But to be fair, he will correct that in this very chapter. Won't do anything. I'll leave a scratch. But with that being the case, we see full power. Assault mode Mel, remember, still under the effects of Elizabeth's perfect time. So fully healed, presumably at full stamina, Mel. We have full wings King, using increase for some reason. Very few increase spears. Like literally less than when he awakened, though he's massively stronger than his awakened self. We have Diane, posted up, clean, juicy. Seemingly still not danced up. I'm going to keep pushing this until we get a statement about her being danced up. This is base Diane. This is just base Diane upscale. All this is base Diane upscale. Base Diane souls the deities. I want you to think about that. Then, of course, we have Gother, my glorious, legendary, do-nothing individual. To be fair, though, did actually get his hands on Cath's hands last chapter. Didn't do all too much but open up for one singular attack, but still, that's something. And then we got Old Man Bond. Poor Old Man Bond. Unfortunately, it seems like he is kind of just stuck in this state. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to fix it, because I highly doubt Cath himself is going to fix it. So Bond will very likely still die here. I don't know if he's going to get a haircut before his son does it, though. But all that being the case, our full power, fully fresh Sins are facing down this Cath. And I will say this, I wonder how Gother's being healed by perfect time, because he's not biological. Like anything, he should still be under that building that father was buried under. But regardless, we see that naturally Bond sees this massive chaos crystal thing and is like, what's that? And Melius explains, he crystallized all the chaotic force he could. Which is interesting, right? Like, with Cath having confirmed that he ate up a lot of chaos, not all of it, but a lot of chaos inside of Arthur, you would think that the chaos, if it truly was all of it, would be more than this. Remember, chaos with a thought made the gods, and the gods made realms with multiple star systems in them. Cath himself made Camelot, the current Camelot, or Arthur. Once again, there's hot debate on when Cath took over everything. Like, has it been like we still don't exactly know. I've seen different theories in the comments, and I've even looked and asked around the community. No one really has a solid answer of when Cath took over. Like, people think Cath may have taken over as soon as Arthur devoured him. The only reason I'm hesitant against that is because of the ending of Cursed by Light. But then again, Arthur was Carthering it. He was LARPing the entire time he was King of Chaos or King of Camelot for this entire period. We just don't know. We don't have enough lore and or context for when that switch happened. But still, he ate up a lot of chaos, right? So the fact that all of this, and presumably all the power he wielded, only results in this much crystallized stuff is actually pretty interesting. It's kind of small, but at the same time, we see its potency is very, very clear. Despite barely being the size of a building, this thing can tank a whole lot, as we'll see. But we see that Gother finally pulls out the twin bow hair and goes, cancel it, and uses rewrite light for some reason. Why? Like, I wonder if this is I should have checked the Reddit before I started recording the review. But like, I wonder if this is another mistranslation thing. Kind of like how 2 chapters ago Elizabeth's perfect time was like mistranslated as it was, or like it was vaguely translated enough that was confusing on whether or not the supreme deity or Elizabeth was the one. No, I think literally Gother in the mistranslation said Elizabeth was the one to like cast perfect time in her goddess body. But no, that was just the supreme deity doing that, and Elizabeth is just replicating what her mother did. But here, he should use kill switch. You know, the same thing he used to turn off, I believe it was the ruler for the Demon King. Very specifically in the great combo attack, he used kill switch in order to allow the magical attack to even work on the Demon King. And then it was, I think it was breaker off. I don't think he ever actually used kill switch on the Supreme Deity. I haven't watched Cursed by Light since it came out. So, correct me if I'm wrong on that. But he uses rewrite light here. I don't know why. Like, if you could do this the entire time, Gother, why didn't you not do it when he was in, you know, a much more easily hittable form? No idea. But regardless, he uses rewrite light, and it doesn't even reach Cath. It maybe seemingly bounces off the shield, or fizzles out before it can even hit it. As Gother realizes, it is likely the defensive layer shuts out all mental and shifter attacks. Which is interesting, right? Like, it does make sense as if we trace everything in the universe back to its, like, apex peak, like its starting point. So far, we haven't met a being that, like, can't be somehow linked back to chaos. It's weird to think about, but if you think about, like, the grand... Is it cosmology in that case? Like, if you think of the biological pathing, right? Because that's so silly. But you think of the biological pathing of everything, every living character we've seen in the Seven Deadly Sins universe. Except for... I don't even know. Because unironically, the chaos, if the stuff in, even if I'm pretty sure that it's a hard line, actual factual, that chaos didn't create Purgatory, the creatures in Purgatory are seemingly born of chaos? But not all of them? Because not all of them are Hawk level. That's going to be relevant in a second. But regardless, almost every living thing, except for maybe some of the Purgatory beasts, if they were truly, completely born automatically there, can be traced back to chaos. Gowther can be traced back to chaos, because Gowther was created by Gowther, the original, who was a demon, who was created by the Demon King, who was created by chaos. So, like, all of Gowther's magical abilities link back to chaos. All of Meliodas' abilities, he's literally just Chaos's Chaos's grandson. Diane, a far descendant of chaos, but still a descendant of chaos. King, same thing, literal grandchild of chaos. For Bon, a very, even more than Diane, very far descendant of chaos, but still a descendant of chaos. All of their powers not necessarily working on pure crystallized, pure actualized chaotic force does make sense, because everything goes back to chaos. Remember, the supreme deity sort of showed this weird deific immunity to attacks that were even remotely adjacent to her, right? Sunflower didn't work on her that effectively because of divine power of the 10 wings, and also because of it being so close to what she already does as a being with complete dominion over light. So with chaos being responsible for the creation of literally everything, it makes sense that Gowther's attacks on their own, and even many attacks we'll go on to see, don't work too well. It does make me wonder, though, why, like, this heavy resistance / immunity didn't apply to Cath himself when he was wielding the powers? Like, directly? Like, why? Like, he had all this chaos force. I guess it's because Cath is impure, I suppose? I don't know. It's weird. But regardless, we see that Diane says, "Then it's simple." And King goes, "We'll crush it by force." Which, oh, if only. But we see that Cath goes, "Oh yes, good luck with that. And try to hurry, too." He's doing the P thing again. He's even doing it in this form. I don't like it, but otherwise your queen will burn up all her power, and I'll have the edge again now, won't I? Which, technically, yeah. Cath is that now, but see, like, I still, because especially with this chapter, as a friend of mine read this chapter, came to me immediately, was like, "So, how do you feel about this?" And I was like, but the main question they asked me, if Cath was on this type of relative, if not superior to all the sins individually without a crazy buff, timing from round start, would you have liked it more? Yeah. But now just that we know that, and that he is seemingly way far above them, as long as he's using all the chaos power he's managed to gobble up, still doesn't change the fact that he was a fodder bum. And still doesn't change what happens at the end of this very chapter. Like, Cath gets aura, and finally being above the previous main characters for like 2 seconds, bro. Because it doesn't even last the full chapter. But we see that as Cath makes his exclamation, we see Elizabeth also starting to continue, well, not starting to, continuing to fade. Now, I do still think this won't, I'm not gonna say it's not gonna matter. Like, obviously, this is the moment that we were removing the previous titular cast from the narrative, right? Obviously, this won't be well, here's the thing, right? A big debate I've been seeing dance around the community now, and presumably, I may wait, I may not, who knows, I'll see how, it's a little dependent, ironically enough, how chapter 231 goes, but I'll talk about it, because a big discussion that's been going around the community now is, maybe Cath isn't the final antagonist, or is meant to not be that, right? Maybe chaos itself truly will be our big bad, and the reason this is being discussed about is because, like, the whole thematics of what this is meant to be, right? As much as I've been harking and hating on, like, the plot, like, oh, you know, Cath is a fodder bum who could never be our main antagonist, maybe that's because as he removes the sins from the narrative, he, another piece of the past, is also removing himself from the narrative. Think about, especially, all of our living sins. Bon is over 1,000 years old. King is over 1,000 years old. Diane is like 700 plus. But, like, essentially, these are ancient characters, right? Obviously, Bon's ancientness is a lot more recent, but still, technically, he's really, really old. And, obviously, Seven Deadly Sins / Fourknights is focusing on the future. So, Cath, by being a part of the past, is technically still what he would fall under, that whole past umbrella of thematics, and leaving the past behind to look forward towards the future. Of course, the issue with that is, the only other theoretical antagonist that could work would be, ironically, Arthur himself, but that doesn't make any sense from what we know so far. And also, chaos itself. But that's also still a piece of the past. So, like, I don't know. Like, I genuinely don't know if Cath won't be our main antagonist anymore, but a lot of people are really hoping for it. Especially after this chapter, ironically enough, because of a certain thing that happens. But regardless, we see Elizabeth fading, and we see Melios go, "Not while I'm still here," as he raises another Trillion Dark and sends it all to assail this perfect guard. But it literally does nothing. Now, I want you, like, unironically, genuinely, this singular Trillion Dark would do ungodly numbers, like genuinely catastrophic numbers to some of your favorite verses. JJK gets annihilated by this 1 Trillion Dark. The entirety of Demon Slayer, literally a single Trillion Dark orb, solos the entirety of Demon Slayer. Even a lot of you more about, like, One Piece may not be able to live this, bro. I know. There's like star level arguments, but sure, let's give One Piece star level. Let's go. Let's even call it large star, right? Based off like Blackbeard upscale, bro. This Trillion Dark annihilates that too. Light work. Some fraud or some clean. Remember how high this Meliodas should scale thanks to his previous feats on Kath, right? In terms of tanking and offensive, like in terms of his durability and his AP, even though like really those are kind of the same thing in 7 sense. Regardless, think about that. And think of the fact that this does nothing. This is Jalen. It doesn't even leave a scratch on the perfect guard. And Kath even mocks him, going, "Oh, no, help me." And we see Bon and Meliodas decide to team up and actually, gank him. And as Bon goes, "Let's do it, Meliodas." It feels weird giving Bon an even deeper voice, but like, hey, he's old now. And we see that Meliodas says, "You got it, full power," which implies that he was still holding back on the Trillion Dark. Mel, why have you been holding back so much? Why are you so sandbaggy, bro? Why are you so sandbaggy? But regardless, we get to see a cool combination of God Ripper and Assault Hunt. You want to talk about a crazy attack that tells a bunch of verses. This attack right here, this combo attack, I don't know, bro. You better bring those higher tier, Bleach metas, those higher tier Naruto metas, dog. Because this attack alone would annihilate a majority of the verse. And we see these attacks merge to form Combo Strike God Killer, and I like that. I mean, I think this would be cool if it was like, if it actually fused the two names of the attacks. Like, it has neither pieces. I mean, it takes God of the two, right? I feel like maybe God Hunt would be a cool Combo Strike name rather than God Killer, or Godly Assault or something like that, or I don't know, Ripper Hunt or Ripper Assault doesn't sound as cool, or Assault Ripper or Hunt. I don't know. Maybe Hunt God would be a little bit too on the nose, but still a very cool combo attack. It's Meliodas using essentially Enchant Hellblaze on Lost Vein in assault mode, doing an X slash while Bond gets off multiple attacks. Once again, genuinely, especially if this is actually Mel going full power and not holding anything back, despite repeatedly saying this beforehand and still holding back. This once again does feed into the whole narrative of Bond, even as an old man, being at least speed wise above Mel. I'd say power wise is still debatable, but I don't know, man. Bond still hasn't taken any real damage from Kath. Why did I say Kath like that? From Kath. So, yeah, Bond may just be above AML. That bothers me more than you'll ever know. Because it doesn't make any sense. It bothers me, but hey, maybe the case here. Because he gets off way more attacks. Meliodas gets off this one X slash while Bond gets in this. Like, he gets all 4 attacks and Meliodas getting 2. But regardless, it still seemingly does nothing as it tears up literally everything. As we see the many human casts who are still in the general vicinity of Leonis, but not anywhere nearby, go, "Oh!" And we see Boris admit, "I thought I was dead there." And even Evelyn goes, "Whew, me too, bro. Me too, I thought they fried us." But we see King and Diane both go, "No need to worry about collateral damage. We have Queen Elizabeth's blessing upon us." Which is like, yeah, I get, like, it's weird to think about that. Like, it's funny because there is a point in my own narrative where like my characters do run into this moral dilemma where like I just lose vague spoilers for my own story, but by the time that story is complete and actually ready for release versus this review coming out, I don't think it will matter. But one of my main characters, one of the abilities they unlock throughout the narrative is like this kind of perfect time-esque healing, where they get so good at healing and regenerating on a mass scale that our characters do start to question, hey, we could do more, right? Like one of the characters' abilities after a certain point, it's very late into the narrative, but one of the characters can literally just create a star and throw it at somebody. The reason they don't do that, though, the reason they always compress the star down is 1, because AP, and 2, because they don't want to accidentally destroy the planet they're fighting on. But one of the character who can heal points out, well, I could probably just heal everybody through that. And they're like, but is that okay to like cause that much physical agony and despair and pain to be healed off? And they have a whole debate about that. And it obviously makes sense that the Sins, who have kind of, gone through that whole, well, we got to destroy everything anyway or else everyone dies, they immediately go through it. But still, it's always an interesting dilemma to bring up. Is it okay to absolutely annihilate literally anything and everything as long as they shall be healed immediately? 'Cause that's basically what happens here. But we see that Diane goes, right, we gotta go all out too, as if they... You know how much it hurts me to say this stuff? As if King and Diane add any relevant power to Meliodas and Bond. It is like, imagine someone picked up like a car and threw it at you, and then two people picked up cars and threw them at you. But then two other people picked up basketballs and threw it at you as well. If the cars didn't work, the basketball's not going to work. And we see King go with finally pulling out the first true Spirit Spear Chastity first form, confirming that he can still use it. He's just been using increase for the culture, I guess. Though admittedly, I think it was, I could double check, but I literally don't have any of my devices near me. But I believe it was one of many ASMR who put it out. Maybe like King can't use the first Spirit Sphere form because he gave that up to Nasians. No, it seems like he can use it. He just never was. So he pulls out first form Spirit Spear Chastity, and Diane whips out Mother Catastrophe, not Mother Creation, which I guess makes sense. Mother Creation really just created a platform, but he pulls out Mother Catastrophe. Remember the attack that kind of gets. I'd say the attack that's kind of responsible for getting the higher tier, like scaling for early Seven Deadly Sins. Like that attack goes from as low as like small mountain level to like country level, depending on how you interpret how fast the thing was created, especially with the anime's depiction of it. But Mother Catastrophe, a very high level attack, along with the True Spirit Spear Chastity first form, which was also bullying for Command Mael, and that was way before these characters got massively amped over the time skip. And they use this ability, Combo Strike Fall of Heaven. Now, I'll admit, in comparison to God Killer, which still is a cool name, but I wish it was like something like God Hunt or Assault God, but Assault Ripper or something like that. God Killer, the Combo Strike Fall of Heaven does go crazy. And for Diane to create the Mother Catastrophe in this like concentrated merge down form, and then for the Spirit Spear to burst through it, really, really cool. Though you would think, honestly, this would be like less effective because the Spirit Spear is being forced to rip through the mass. So you think that'd actually slow the Spirit Spear down. How effective it is relatively debatable, but regardless, it buries through, it digs right on through, it gets deep in its guts, if you will. Tears through, as Elizabeth is still aura farming and flexing. Well, to be fair, she's not just aura farming, she's literally aura dying. But she's releasing a whole bunch of light energy to keep up the healing as the Mother Catastrophe, which is way smaller than it ever was before, but still, argue concentration AP potency. It's why my characters eventually, like, to kind of spoil what my characters end up coming to, because one of the big things that they are faced in the narrative is, like, morality, and, like, what, a big question that constantly goes on throughout my story is, just because something can be undone, does that mean you should do it anyway? That's a big point I want to push across, especially with characters who can regenerate, who can heal, who can do a whole bunch of stuff like that. But with it being the case, we see, what was my point? There's gonna be a point there, and I completely lost it. Buries through, digs through, potency loss. Oh no, the thing that my characters, the solution that they come to in that moment is to just do the potency thing, right? So the character that can literally just create a star and throw it at somebody is like, well, fine, I'll still create the star. They'll create like the solar mass equivalent to the sun, and then they'll just compress that down to like a ball and then launch the ball. So it would still be as if the sun were hitting you, but if the sun was like the size of a baseball. Yeah, that hurts a lot more than just being hit by a sun, because the AP is a lot more, the attack potency is a lot more concentrated. If that doesn't make sense, let me know though. I'm not sure. There's a couple things I do want to troubleshoot with some other writers where I'm like, does that work? Like, I'm not sure if it'd be more. I'm pretty sure it'd be more potent to have like a sun, all the solar mass and energy of the sun concentrated in one point than having it as a full scale star. But I'm not sure. I have to double check that. But with it being the case, the concentrated Mother Catastrophe gets torn through by the first form Spirit Spear. It thrums. We see Ballin straight ore farming, making sure to have the physical defense on, the physical immortality or immunity on as the rocks will pass them. We see Donnie defending Elva with his shield, my glorious King Donnie. We see Nasians and Anne essentially watching Nasian's parents go crazy on him. And then we see Elizabeth basically hunch over and go, and we see Meliodas go, Elizabeth! As Kath is entirely unarmed, right? Like, even after the combo, realistically, you could argue this is like a 4-stage combo attack, because we don't really see the result of God Killer. But really, this is a 4 times combo strike of God Killer, Fall of Heaven, and it does genuinely nothing. Except, leave a little scratch. So, good job. They left a tiny scratch on this gargantuan, well, not gargantuan, it's really not that big, but this construct here. So, all the power of chaos, our cast doesn't really scale to. So, that does raise a debate now, and this is something that, like, I've seen a little bit of talks about, but, like, we don't want to talk about it too much, because that's going to be, like, a drastic downscale for a lot of the series, but how much does our cast really scale to chaos? The reason that, or scale to Carther and his ability, because we don't know how much energy it took for the, like, multi-solar, bare minimum, multi-galactic realms that Camelot is. We don't know how much energy or how much effort that took for Cath. Clearly he's taking a whole lot of effort to create this perfect guard. He had to concentrate all his chaos energy in one area. But, you know, obviously the Sins are still scalable of the gods who have their, like, multi-solar realms and stuff like that. But if you want that good, juicy, real high scale, that, like, fighting the Boo Saga high scale for Sin tier characters, or Sin tier characters, you do need that higher stuff from Cath, I'd say. So, them not being able to do any damage is pretty bad. Pretty bad. If only there was a character who could do that level of damage. If only. But we see Cath go,
wow, you just bumped your knee against your computer desk and didn't even say a word. Very impressive, very impressive. And he capped specifically, so it didn't hurt too much. I see you, my friend. But, wow, look at that. You actually put a scratch on it just now. It's the tiniest little slit. The tiniest little slit on the surface, though. Still, wow.
So, congratulations, the Sin scaled to scratch level on what isn't even all of Chaos. That does make sense, though. You know, once again, like I mentioned, every single one of their powers just backtrace the Chaos, especially all four of the Sins who attacked here. A human, a giant, a fairy, and a demon. They literally all backlink to Chaos. Some of which, like, basically directly. But that being the case, yeah, Cath is basically untouchable. He's unstoppable. The Sins at their current full power, well, if not buffed by Elizabeth, at their max stats, they can't do anything. They need someone even stronger. And we see Meliodas go, as Bond goes, seemingly they're still sweating and possibly getting tired, maybe? I don't know, even with Elizabeth's power. But we go to Diane and go, after taking that, and King goes, just one scratch? And we see Cath say something very interesting.
You have only half the power unless all 7 of you are here, huh? Sad, isn't it? When you don't have your pals backing you up.
That is an interesting statement. You only have half the power unless all 7 of you are here. That doesn't make, like, even an iota of it. Because, like, I know Nakaba has been trying to, like, gaslight us. Yes, us, you and me. Into believing that, like, oh, yeah, all the Sin, like, essentially, Nakaba has been trying to gaslight us into believing Sin level is actually a thing. But I'm sorry. Sin level can be as low and as fodder as Gother. Realistically, I used to say Base AM, but Base AM's gotten some crazy upscale recently. But, like, useless and fodder and buns and no stats having as Gother. Remember, Gother was getting washed, thrown in the tumbler by base Chaos Beltreep, right? He would have his way to glaze Beltreep. It didn't just happen once, but twice. Gother got Beltreep with the Okidoke, with the initial illusion cast, then was literally sliced, not in half. That didn't happen to the second time. But literally had their arm chopped off and was like, this Beltreep guy's so super strong. And then Beltreep gets absolutely bullied by literally every other relevant Sin. Except for, like, Diane. Blah, blah. King 1v2s. What, Beltreep and, like, notably, Giga Chaos and Beltreep and Giga Chaos and Ironside at the same time. Bond literally one-shots all of them and then ignores Beltreep's spatial attacks. Because reasons, I guess. Mal obviously scales the Bond and would do the same thing. Diane is kind of able, but she bullies Chaos and Pelguard. So, like, legitimately, or Giga Chaos and Pelguard. So, Sin level is as low as Four Knights Gother, unfortunately. And then as high as Bond. I basically have to say Bond now, bro. Like, AML, you're kind of not that guy anymore, boy. But, yeah, Sin level isn't really a thing. So, no. I don't think Escanor and Merlin would make much of a difference here. Like, you could argue Merlin would be useful because of power limit break, but, like, I don't know, man. If that 4-way combo attack between the remaining strongest 4 Sins was enough, I don't think a guy who was, at best, in the one ultimate form, basically burning his life away, at best relative to a full power deity, both of which who have kind of been massively crept by this point, thanks to Cath himself, I don't think that would really make much of a difference at all. But we see that Meliodas has a realization as he goes, wait a minute, our pals. And we see that Boris is like, well, how about we try joining in too? Which is hilarious, as Boris is literally the only person here with no magical abilities. As far as I know, he has nothing. But we see that Edlin goes, you dolt! If a team of god-killing heroes can't break it, how can we? Which is a very good point. But we see that Pelgar goes, after finally so long, we see is it all the evils? Yeah, it's literally all 4 evils in this one panel. Kind of crazy. I only noticed Pelgard and Ironside, but no. Worldane, Beltreep, Pelgard, and Ironside are literally all here. And as Deodora goes, when Pelgard says, "Can nothing be done now?" And we see Deodora hit the dash and make it go fast. And Ironside's like, "Deodora, please!" Like, it is crazy. We still don't, like, especially now with Elizabeth basically dying, I'm gonna have to headcanon it. I'm gonna guess Deodora can survive without being in Camelot now because of either Elizabeth. I'm gonna blame either Elizabeth healing him the second he got back, and or his magical ability kicked in, right? So like now that he has an actual magical ability, what's its name? I actually generally forget what. It's been a while since we actually covered it or introduced it. But essentially, his divine reflection ability or whatever, maybe that allowed him to, like him absorbing the magical abilities and strengths of both Rothus and Turret. Maybe that gave him the constitution to live here now, because that's completely unaddressed. But obviously, Ironside is worried about Deodora, because Deodora had the whole sickness thing, and now he's supposedly running in to deal with and fight with all these God Slayers. Ironside doesn't do anything about that, though, and just watches his son run off. So, unfortunate. But we see that Hauser says, "Deodora, let me entrust this to you. It is from His Majesty, to be used when in a truly possible situation." Which, clearly, this is a truly impossible situation. Truly impossible situation. Oh boy. Golly gee, Donald. I do wonder what mystery Mousecatool is going to help us now. I can't. Man, I missed them. I could do it so much better before, bro. This is as close as I'm getting, bro. Goofy. What are you doing with my wife? Minnie, how could you do this to me? I can't do it. I can't do it anymore. But regardless, the mystery Mousecatool that's going to help us later, it's now later. And we see that Deodora ran all the way up, pretty darn close, and goes, "Your Majesty." And Diane naturally asks, who's this kid? Not one of mine. I had 7. Now 8. Oh, I do love popping them out. But we... Still crazy that Mel and Elizabeth didn't have any more kids. But we see that Melis goes, you are here! Which, where else would he be? Mel, do you think he just ran? Like, Mel, you didn't teleport anyone. Like, I still say the plan is fully thought through. I don't care. I don't care if they thought it was Arthur the entire time. Because, admittedly, Merlin was not as clear as I thought. And I was wrong about that in that review. I saw it. Well, they should have known that wasn't Arthur. They shouldn't have. Merlin didn't give that up. But, with it being the case, here, where'd you think he was going? You didn't give them any more resources to teleport out any further. But Melis goes, you are here! And naturally, Kath goes,
"Deodora, why is Ironside's son here? Not that it matters to me now."
Which is hilarious. Kath could have literally saved himself if he had just quickly attacked Deodora, but maybe he can't attack at all. Because he's in this tiny form and he's hidden behind the perfect guard, he probably literally can't do anything outside of sit there until he goes back to an actual combat form. But, with being the case, we see Meliodas go, "Hauser filled you in, right? Lend me your powers, now!" Still can't believe it. But we see that after Meliodas makes his declaration, desperate to do it, Deodora goes, "Yes, sire!" And he specifically walks in front of all the sins. King and Diana are both looking on like, do we really have time for this, Meliodas? Your wife is kind of dying right now. And King naturally asks, what's he do? I forgot. I just noticed. King's hair is not colored in either time here. Yeah, it's not colored in at all. Interesting. But what's he doing, Captain? And we see that Meliodas admits, it's a do or die bet. And we see Deodora leap back and go, "Everyone, step away from me a little." And he casts a certain ability. Gatekeeper. As you'll remember, Rothus had the ability to open a portal to Purgatory. And if you remember, when we initially saw that opening to Purgatory, there was a certain little creature we saw at the center, at arguably the peak of Purgatory. And we see Kath even look a little bit shocked, and everyone hit a double exclamation point as the gate rips open. And Kath even goes,
"A rift? A rift into Purgatory? Since when could he conjure that?"
Which is, it's nice to show that Kath's knowledge of Camelot is super duper limited. Like, he made all the realms, but that doesn't mean he has 24/7 access or knowledge to all of them, because he didn't know about Deodora's ability. But naturally, we see Kath, being Kath, drooling and all, goes,
Like I care, though, you dummies. You think that smashed the crystal? I was created in Purgatory, remember? That would never work on me.
That is a retcon, I'm pretty sure. That is a retcon. I'm almost so... Hold on. In fact, I'm almost so confident that's a retcon. I'm honestly so genuinely confident that's a retcon. I'm about to do a thing. I'm about to do a thing. Hold on. I'm about to do a thing. I'm about to do a thing that's a retcon. But the reason I'm thinking it's a retcon is I'm pretty sure Kath was confirmed to be sealed in Purgatory by the Goddess Clan. He didn't actually... Go away! He wasn't actually created in Purgatory. Hold on. Perfect. Let me see. I think this is literally the chapter where you get Kath backstory. Learned a lot from it. Arthur, you're so happy. I'm so happy. Arthur, you're here too. Merlin, don't let that thing near Arthur. Bites off the arm. What are you? Everyone grab a hold of it. That won't be enough. You have to kill him. Otherwise, he's going to get a taste of the power of chaos. Okay, so it's next chapter. It's next chapter where we actually get Cat backstory. A taste of chaos. We see, what was that, Arthur? That monster cat bit it off. The creature's power, Arthur power to cast itself. I didn't recognize him earlier because here we go. Yeah. Here it is. So, a couple things about Kath. This form we see him in here. This form we see him in here, which is a direct mirror to the form that he is in here, is not his original form. It's not. It's not at all. As the Lady of the Lake confirms, we know the Lady of the Lake should know because he literally acknowledges Kath as a sibling, that creature's target is Arthur's power, chaos itself. I didn't recognize him earlier because his appearance and magic are so different from before. So, this isn't his, this tiny form here isn't his original state. I believe his original state is the monster form. And we get the backstory for Kath here. You know that Fiend's true identity. He's the incarnation of desire for an obsession with the power born of chaos. He craves the power to become the king of chaos himself, the beast tyrant who challenged chaos to a fight. Kath Palug, the monstrous cat who rakes with hooked claws. Legend has it he lost the fight with chaos and committed to so much evil in the land where he was exiled. Committed so much evil in the land where he was exiled that he was finally thusly sealed away by the goddesses. Is it confirmed? Wait, maybe I was wrong. Maybe it's not a retcon. Because let's see. Okay, we're gonna fight this guy. Melios, stay away. Must have some reason for doing this. Waking your chaos powers. I thought it was confirmed he was sealed. I know he was sealed by the goddesses, but I thought he was sealed in Purgatory. I may be misremembering that. I may be genuinely misremembering that. Difference of sins in the dimension Kath created. Oh, this is when the Holy Sword of Phyllis Roll is key. Or Master's Blade. So overjoyed, Arthur, you're amazing. I can't stop drooling. Okay, maybe this isn't a retcon. Maybe he was created in chaos, created in Purgatory. I didn't know that. I thought he was created in the main world. I thought he was just a part of that, and then he was sealed in Purgatory by the Goddess Clan, and then he ended up in the Goddess Amber. Maybe I'm misremembering that, but interesting. He was created in Purgatory, so he, like a lot of the other Purgatory creatures, was created in there by chaos. That doesn't make sense, though. Does that make sense? How did Cat? Wait, that still doesn't. I mean, to be fair, chaos can create separate dimensions, and so can his kids. But why would he make Kath in Purgatory? That's weird. The one thing, even if it's not a retcon, because it's not there, it's not in the text. I thought he was stated to be sealed in Purgatory by the gods. It's not there in chapter 339. It's not there. But I could have sworn he was sealed in Purgatory, and then he somehow ended up in the Goddess Amber. But I may be misremembering that link. But you can correct me if I'm wrong. All that aside, his creation in Purgatory means chaos went to Purgatory. I wonder why. I don't know. It's weird. But we see that Theodora goes, seal, cancel, and the seal gets opened as the rift stays open and is pouring out miasma. But of course, thanks to Elizabeth, the miasma didn't do anything to anybody. And obviously, all of our characters here should be strong enough to at least somewhat resist the miasma. But we see it clinks, and suddenly Pandora's box gets open, kerpop, and Diane and Bon and King all immediately go. They all cover their noses. They all start choking. Bon, who is immune to Purgatory itself, mind you. Purgatory, the current king of chaos, the beast king of chaos couldn't do anything to Bond. But this smell is enough to make him hold his nose and begin sweating profusely. More than he's sweat so far. Even when he was initially turned old, he didn't sweat this much. As everyone even nearby can just sense the sheer disgustingness in that box. Ballin himself has to... And you know, if Ballin is actually reacting to cover his nose, you know it's bad. As he goes, it's putrid. We're so far away, too. That's exactly the point. And we see that, I'm not even sure who says this, but someone says, it's like leftovers left to rot in the underworld itself. And naturally, Theodora goes, this thing in this box, is it even from this world, sire? And Melios goes, yeah, it's the greatest masterpiece of meat pie that I've ever whipped up. It's literally as freaky as some of the chaos creatures we've seen so far. I don't know how he made it alive. It's literally wriggling. What did he use? Like, I know Melios was raised in the demon world, and we've seen that demon world cuisine is different, but like, of all the things to come back, I was really not. To be fair though, Melios having super horrifically bad cooking never got erased. He did that to Gawain right before they started their journey in part 1, but was not expecting to come back around like this. And we see that this putrid, horrific aroma does something to a beast. Literally, the aura of stink is literally covered in bacteria. But we see, and through the rift, someone goes, Well, see, like, what is their voice now? Is it mad deep? Is it like Hawk? To be fair, I may be confusing that. I may be conflating that with like something like Schmuck's Hawk Mama, which is just beep beep. But I forget. I don't think I watched enough of the anime to remember if Chaos or if Hawk Mama had a really deep voice. But regardless, well, this aroma certainly brings back a few memories for me. And we see Kath acknowledge,
Oh, a voice from the rift.
and we see that Kath goes,
Aha! Summoning some creature from Purgatory to fight against me.
and Bond. See, this implies to me that either they recognize his magic power, which should be way higher now, and or his voice hasn't changed. So like, I'm not sure which way I should go. I think for the funny, I'm gonna keep a, like how I would voice this character if they had never appeared or if they hadn't changed. But Bond goes, oh no way, and Kath goes,
Well, forget it. It take more than some face in the crowd to beat me.
and we see that the voice says,
Somebody's full.
wait, no, I'm gonna do the super deep voice for now. If y'all will give me the verdict, just because it doesn't feel knowing what's happening. I can't, it doesn't feel right giving the king a voice like this. So I'm gonna give him the super deep voice. If you don't like, if you want me to go back to what would be a Hawk voice, I said it, but you know, you've read the chapter. But if you want a more like higher pitched voice, let me know. But somebody's full of himself over there, isn't he? Let me guess. You're the little pig. That's hilarious. You're the little pig who's been snatching my people from my land, right? And we see Kath go,
So what if I am? You're the one acting like you own me. I, and only I, am the new Lord of Chaos.
and nope. Picture. Cell. Full power. Super perfect. Atomized by this. Picture the entire One Piece universe, its planet, instantly atomized by this. Think of Yuhaba, depending on how you scaled him. Atomized. Like this. Think of every single character in Boruto. From post-time skip Boruto to Jura to Kawaki, all of them. Every top tier. Think of even Lord Damon himself. Okay, maybe not that far. But Lord Damon himself. Atomized by this. The perfect guard took no damage from a 4-way combo attack between 4 god killers, 2 of which being Bond and Meliodas. This annihilates the guard, folds it in, literally makes the eyes of the guard pop and get absolutely eviscerated and torn apart. Final meat stomp. Crack. Boom. Kabwam. Kabloo. Kablow. Annihilated. Eviscerated. Done. And you can see all the reactions. King and Diane. Eyes bigger than her husband's whole body. King bamboozled. Gother, jaw dropped. Bond, jaw dropped. Theodore, jaw dropped. Meliodas, jaw dropped. But Cheesin, as of course. Who could it be? Who could be so mighty that even a being who transcends the god-killing heroes could not believe what transpired as they fall out of their perfect guard?
What? Who are you?
Mild, King of Purgatory. Never in my days did you realize, every bit of Bond upscale, every bit of Kath upscale, every bit of Mel upscale, every bit of upscale. We were wrong. We were delusional. We all thought, we as the collective all thought all this upscale, it had to be for Lance, right? Every single bit of Bond coin was actually secretly going to Late coin, which was Lance coin. It was all linked together. Every bit of Mel coin, secretly Lance coin. Every bit of coin out there was all supposed to feed in Lance. We were all wrong. We were all delusional. We, as a collective. Except I saw a vision. I saw a vision. what did I keep saying throughout the reviews? Right? Think about it. What did I keep saying throughout the reviews? Hey, it's weird how we keep getting all these Hawk allegories, all these Hawk references. He's everywhere. In every bit of great, we just keep seeing him, but we don't actually see him. From what I mentioned earlier, to the drawing of Purgatory with Hawk seemingly at the center of it all, to the random guy who just had Hawk as his helmet. Pretty weird. Obviously, the boar's hat in of itself is still a reference to Hawk's entire family and the original holder of chaos, as the god sealed it away. Like, we've been having these little references, these little pieces here and there. But never in my days did I realize all my secret subconscious investing into pork coin, into mild coin, would turn out like this. I want you to, like, I need you. And this is where I talked about earlier, all the way back to this other review. This is where I talked about, like, the absurdity of this is so good. So, like, it's such a high level of absurdity, and I already don't take cats seriously, that, yes, the chapter's worthy. And you may be like, but isn't this so stupid? It's so stupid in the best way possible. I want you to conceptualize the Demon King. The Demon King, right? The mighty, big, bad creature. The orchestrator of the... No, in fact, you could take... Let's say you took the Supreme Deity. You took the Demon King. Gave them both their full power. Erased all the commands from existence. Fed it right back into them. And then merged them together. Had them do the fusion dance like Melagalon and... Like Melascula and Gallon did. In order to combine together through the powers of chaos. They would actually get atomized in one tap by this. Think about that. I want you to think about how far Melon Crew already outscaled the gods just because of scaling at all to chaos. Who created the gods with the thought. So even if you think Kath was using 1% of his chaos power, which clearly he wasn't, all the sins, now at this point, at least except for Gother, because Gother's a bum, all outscale the deities. And they couldn't do anything with a 4-way combo attack except leave a scratch. The first abstraction. A scratch on Kath's perfect time. On his perfect guard. But Hawk, with a stomp, through a portal. Not a magical name, nothing. With one of his feet. This is like me. This is him punching through Yuhaba. This is him punching through Aizen. To be fair, Aizen lived because of the immortality stuff. Like, that's the thing. Every single, like... I'm just blown away by this. And now, you may be wondering, hold on. Pencil Man. Before you get to glazing, we have a question that must be asked. And that is true. We do have a question that must be asked. And that question is simple. How on this good green earth is Hawk this powerful? And here's the thing. It's a twofold thing. Because number one, the answer is obvious, right? He just spent, 18 years in Purgatory. Remember, Bond. Well, no, first things first. Let's remember what Purgatory is as a whole. Purgatory, on the basis of its levels, right? It turns 1 day in the mortal realm into 1 year there. No, not even 1 day. 1 minute. 1 minute. That's the thing. I got the correlation on. 1 minute in the mortal realm equals 1 year in the Purgatory realm. So, hold on. There we go. Let me pull up this Kalki-Walkie, bro. Let me pull up this Kalki-Walkie. So, there are... We're gonna do this math by math. So, if 1 minute in Purgatory... Or no, 1 minute in the real world is 1 year in Purgatory. And Hawk has been in there for 18 years. We know at the end of Cursed by Light, he came back for a little bit due to the post-credit scene, but clearly he did go back, right? He did find a way back to Purgatory. How? No idea, but he did. Though he appears at the end of Cursed by Light with Wild, mind you. We're going to talk about Wild in a second because I think that man's a fraudulent bum now. But with it being the case, Mild, Hawk, if he spent 18 years, let's do some simple math. There are 60 minutes in an hour. All right? There are 60 minutes in an hour times 24 hours in a day. So just 1 day in Purgatory is 1,440 years. And it's assumed that Bond actually spent less time than that in there to become as strong as he did. Remember, Bond was a regular, well, not a regular, but he was a superhuman guy who became a god tier after presumably a bit less than a day in Purgatory, or at most a day. So, 1,440 years for the baseline. That's if Hawk was in Purgatory for 1 day, but Hawk was in there for 18 years. So there are 365 days in a year. So let's do 1440 times 365. 525,600 years in Purgatory is if Hawk spent 1 year there. 1 year there. Think about that. Now, remember, Hawk has been in there, as far as we know, for all of the 18 years of the time skip post the end of Seven Deadly Sins. 525,600 times 18. Hawk has spent 9,460,800 years in Purgatory. Yeah, he should be that strong with manga that strong. However, maybe like, hey, why'd you suddenly start to slander Wild earlier? Wild spent his entire life in Purgatory too. Hawk was removed from Purgatory back when Wild was still young, but Mild hasn't had any calm. Mild hasn't been doing nothing. He's been chilling and started hanging out with his brother. But he became stronger than all the sins combined. And Calf, who has consumed a fat chunk of chaos. And he did it in a fraction of the time. The Demon King is over 1 billion years old. He didn't get this strong in Purgatory. He's a bum. Wildly bummy. All that power and couldn't even scratch the Demon King with physicals. But here you have your little brother in 18 years, or 9,460,800 years, one-shotting someone who could literally think the Demon King out of existence. Yeah, Wild's a fraud, Mild up top, and he's literally the strongest character in the verse right now outside of Lance. But even then, I don't know, man. I don't know. This didn't look like it took effort once again. That's just his foot. It literally nearly broke space, bro. Hawk may be, like now, unironically, the most contentious matchup in the verse is Hawk versus Lance. Unironically. And remember, he still has his magical ability. Whatever he eats, he then adapts to. So, yeah. Yeah, Mild's the strongest there is. And that's the end of the review. I hope you guys enjoyed. Mild is the strongest there is. Leave that in the comment section down below if you made an all the way to the end of the review. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure that leads to notifications so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also you need to have a page down below. You support me for as low as $1 a month. Things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. Also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So also conclude the live reactions to this very chapter, all future chapters of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, and all previous chapters of Four Knights of the Apocalypse, ad view variations on all my videos, early ad free access to all my videos, early ad free access not just on my videos on the main channel, but all my videos on the second channel. That got the reaction link in the description below, along with your name at the end of literally every single video for both channels. If you are a $3 patron or $3 member or higher, you get your name listed and read aloud at the end of every single video. On top of that, I do have a link to my code Fizzly in the description down below. We drop 5 videos short video, 20 videos long video, and also on my Twitch down there. That got the controller. Stream every Friday, 8 p.m. ES Tizzle. Feel free to roll through. We have a wonderful time. But now, I want to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Got the Pencil, writing off. Alright, ladies, give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Glacier XZ, Zera, J2MA, Buddha Ura, Yuki Ally, Grim, Ollie, The Boy, Corey Watson, Damon Brown, Tim Thomas, Kaving, ORXN, Logan Guzman, Dead Mean, Keon Stewart, Donovan McIntosh, BNA DNA, Edwin Igbinoba, Straw, and Tavius Mitchell, Superflame Zero, Weary Exile, Alex Kenny, Todd, The Practical One, Landon Clapwick, Heath Nelson, CAET, Jagoda, Plant Crone, Blast, Brandon Payne, Black Sage, Multi-Batman Superman, Salims, Joe Bean, Sleepin' John, The Young Family Pastel Pandora, Mo City King DKG, Andreen Bonnet, Akolari Babatunde, at JDog2656, Union Eye, Marisol Boyd, Funny Dude, Athenzi Shear, Magic, Sino King, Sheesh King, Aswin Hedi Presetia, JMB KD, CCC, Enzo, Kitty Liddy, Gerald Harris, Dino, and Victor Jacobs. Then, a thank you to our line art tier patrons: A+A, Dured Zoen, Kevin Encarnacion, Lil Kodo, Midnight Lord 21, and Sean. Then, lady, thank you to our Ink tier member, Shrimpo the Fourth Shrimp 06. Then, lady, thank you to our digital art tier members, J Warrior and AZ Void. I'd like to give a final thank you to our Colored Art Tier patrons, Walking Minnows, and Ernesto430.